Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelis, and a good costume design has sucked me straight onto a bandwagon. It's time for a look at Marvel Legends Infinite series Spider-Gwen. Actually Spider-Woman, but hey, what has higher Google search stats, am I right? Surviving the Spider-Verse and Secret Wars, this character got fast-tracked into collector-aimed toyhood, so let's see how she turned out. Gwen's using the Teen Girl Marvel Legends book that's made some appearances in waves prior. I haven't bought any of those previous uses yet, so my first impression is, it looks pretty good. There's a very natural stance and the articulation doesn't chop up the silhouette all that much. Gwen's costume looks alright, mostly represented by a variety of paint applications. The maroon and turquoise webbing design areas look friggin' sharp. The edges of white against black look sharp, but maybe a little less sharp in spots on her upper torso, and her shoes get kinda sloppy around the edges. But I can forgive a lot in the face of her hood and mask. The gradient around her eyes is magnificent, and the fact that the flexible hood still has that two-tone web pattern on the inside with white on the outside, and the only area of visual mush is the paint seam around the edge, it looks very striking. The hood and head can be removed and replaced with a folded hood collar piece and unmasked Gwen Stacy portrait. The collar piece is a real nice touch, and the Gwen head is very well sculpted and painted. It's a shame that her expression is absolutely devoid of any kind of emotion. It's an extremely well-realized sculpt of Gwen Stacy in the middle of her first cup of coffee in the morning. Even a hint of a smirk or something would have made this more useful an accessory. Gwen also includes the Absorbing Man Build-A-Figure's weapon. It's a Wrecking Ball. A static chained wrecking ball that never quite looks natural, even when it's lying on the table. I don't know why I expected more, but I honestly thought I'd find a use for it as a generic set piece item. I have found the curvature on the chain is perfect for like winging it around in circles twirling my finger, so if you want a plastic wrecking ball to twirl around on your finger, I have good news for you. Underneath the hoodie and everything, which is just a separate piece that kind of grips to the top of her head, Spider-Gwen's got a ball socket head that is also on a throat-bound hinge. So there's the hinge, then a ball socket inside her head. It means she has a pretty good range of motion, and thanks to the hoodie being a separate thing, well, the hood being a separate thing, it doesn't really get in the way. It does come loose of her head pretty often, but I find it's not that hard to squish back in place, and it'll stay there for the most part until you start moving stuff around. That's pretty cool. Her shoulders have got a very softly detented outward motion, and this is like, look at that. That is high. The bicep swivel's not really on the bicep, but it is part of the hinge that connects her elbow to her bicep, because the joint does that, and then it moves like that. I wish it was double jointed, especially on like a thinner body. It's really cool when the double joint can have that kind of curl, but it's a retail toy, and well, hands, talking about the hands, there is a somewhat detented wrist hinge, and of course there is a swivel, and check it out, it's actually not that hard to get her hands to come loose, almost as though perhaps there might be swappable hands out there somewhere. Oh well. Her torso hinge is kind of her waist joint as well, means she can turn left and right. She can kind of curl forward, she can go back a little bit more, she can tilt sideways the most. I wish it had, if not a hinge, just somehow cut for more kind of forward crunching action. Her hips are ball socket connected, and I thought these were going to be super limited, especially since her butt is a plate coming down over the back. That means they can't really move backwards, but they can go forwards a surprisingly decent amount, especially if you use the cut thigh swivel in tandem with them. You can get a decent looking, I'm a web swinging kind of pose going on here. That's a double jointed knee, by the way, a very solid one, and it looks a lot like what I wish was on the arms. Her, well, I guess you can call it boots, even though it's not a boot, it's a boot style cut, but no, this is like a bodysuit, that's whatever. There's a cut there. Then there's also a hinge on the ankle, which is very solid, like, this is like click, 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 silently, buttery even. And then there is a tilt. With this, like, this busts the sculpt up, as you can see. It's not quite as nice as on Taskmaster, but you can get the tilt to play nice, for the most part. This is my first time messing with, what I believe is called the teen female buck in, Marvel Legends. It's a pretty decent and posable body. I was expecting way more hip-bound limitation, but I've been having a lot of fun. I can get a lot of decent web slinging and, like,
spider karate poses going on. I just wish there were more hands, because no matter what I do, this hand has weird ass arthritis and always looks funny. So I always have to like put it back here where it looks like, oh, it must be an open hand and my eyes are playing tricks on me. Swappable hands! They are so tiny. She's small. The larger Spider-Men with larger hands come with like 17 pairs of them, and she has a different head and a different hood bit. And then like this dumbass thing that doesn't do anything.
Gwen Stacy Spider-Woman is a solid figure, to be sure. Decently posable with a hip range that pleasantly surprised my admittedly cynical expectations as somebody who hasn't participated in Hasbro's Marvel Legends very much. The paintwork and sculpt are solid as well. She's a great base figure, and her lack of additional hands is simply criminal as a result. I can deal with a figure having only fists, or only open hands, or even only just grippy hands, but holy crap, a locked thwip hand is crippling to an otherwise solid action figure experience. Toy budgets are toy budgets, but I can't help giving a hard stink eye to all the dude Spider-Men in the same line that come with multiple pairs of hands. And I've checked Shapeways, I've done a cursory Google search. I desperately need hand swap options, official or unofficial, and the only solution at the time of this recording is to buy other figures that use the same buck, cannibalize their hopefully different hands, and break out the white spray paint. What a shame! Especially because this figure's otherwise totally recommendable to anybody who digs the design, whether you're a casual like me or a hardcore who's bought all of her books. I won't tell you to skip this piece, but if you're tempted to pay a large markup, consider strongly just how much you're getting even at her base retail price. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and I certainly couldn't tell you there's a justified case to be made for Hasbro selling standalone packs of hands in their current retail model. So instead, I'll just bang on the table and yell about what I want. Ah!